I've pretty much for the past year and a half lived, breathed, everything has been about this. So every inch of training has been about developing and understanding and growing, because I had to stop being just two-dimensional Kathak dancer who, Kathak Bharatanatyam dancer. I had to open up a lot more, and I think for me, whether it's a solo or whether it's a group piece, I still want to give my best. So even if it's a group piece, and even if I'm on the 10th row right at the back, I will want to give 100%. And I think also I wanted to do a lot of justice to the choreographers and the work and the effort and the belief that they had put in me, and I'm completely honored by the fact that they opened themselves up to having a non-contemporary dancer come in and had the patience as well to work with me, because it's a different language. For this project, the first choreographer who I worked with was Larbi. I went to Antwerp, and I think he did just yoga for 1 week with me. So there was nothing else there, just yoga. And I think he just wanted to understand how my body moved, because it's from 0 to 101 contemporary fast course, it felt like. And it was a big jump. So I think he wanted to understand what he could use and what wasn't usable in there. So Larbi was the first person I worked with, and doing a lot of yoga and I suppose in-depth analysis of how the body can be used and should be used.
In the beginning there was a word that came up to my mind, which was constellation, the idea that there are certain stars that are set in a certain place and that you relate to these stars and they kind of affect you. They make you a little bit who you are. At the same time, what I liked, an image that came to mind also, was the idea that when you look at the sky and you see the stars, you have no idea which ones are close and which ones are far. So somehow everything becomes one-dimensional or two-dimensional. It's very flat. And yet everything has depth, but somehow you can't see that depth because everything just seems to be on one surface. So I wanted to create something that had that idea where you lose depth. You don't really know how far or how close things are. And that's what we've been trying to achieve with Aakash and the light bulbs, in which we kind of play with this idea of the movement and not really understanding what's close and what's not close, by playing with the intensities of the light and also with his own body in space being closer or further from the audience.
The second person I worked with was Russell Maliphant, and that was I think an intense period, and working with Russell because he's very, very clever. So the year before, I think I went to Russell for 4 hours, and within the 4 hours he had already, by the time I came up, he mapped out exactly what the solo is going to be like. He's very, very smart.
Aakash came in for that day to try things out. We explored a number of movement ideas, and there was a great sharpness and articulation that I could see, that I could work with, and I thought it would be an interesting kind of marriage of how we work with Aakash's vocabulary and through the lighting and the idea of form and flow and speed and dynamics, edit all of those ideas together to create something that is highlighted and cut by the light. We had a plan for the light before we came down to the curve, which was mostly working in rectangles. And that first day, we thought, well, let's try something that's more defined, a smaller, more bright line. And that seemed to give us something that was special. And that became the thing that we wanted to highlight for the whole for the duration of the piece. So we got rid of the rectangles and just went for the lines, which gave us a condensed area to work in.
And the third person is Akram Khan. But saying that, Akram, I've been working doing in his company, doing R&D and performed in his festival for a long time. But so there was a relationship between us already in that way, and almost like a mentor. So it's hard to say which one actually came first. But in terms of this project, I think Larbi came first, and then Russell, and then Akram.
I wanted to have an opportunity to work with a dancer who hasn't trained in contemporary dance necessarily, but who has Indian classical training, both in Kathak and Bharatanatyam, and which Aakash has. And for 11 years I've been working with contemporary dancers who don't have the training of Indian classical dance. So for me it was important to find a moment in my career and an opportunity to work with such a dancer who is trained in both Indian classical dance forms with the absence of contemporary dance.
I think the tricky thing was to bring it all together into one evening, because each one requires a different frame of mind. And I think the way I do it, which is it's like when you do a classical Indian evening, you know, we have repertoire, so you'll have an expressive repertoire, a technical item, etc., etc., etc. But each one requires a different energy. So I try and have a mental image, I think, or a feel of each one, which I bring back to the stage. But sometimes they do cross over a little bit, you know.